What's happening, everybody? Charlie Waymire here from Ultimate Studios, Inc. I want to take a few minutes to give you a quick studio tour. I've had some people send some emails wanting to know a little bit more about the studio, how the room is set up, some of the gear, the live room, all that stuff. So figured it's a wonderful Saturday afternoon here in LA, a little rainy outside, and we're going to stay inside and do a little studio tour. So first is the control room, obviously, which we have a nice size control room. It's based around the Trident 88 console, which is the first console they've made in quite a while, and it is just like the classic consoles of Trident's past. They have really they've taken that and continued making that. I love the sound of this board. It's so fun to use. And if any of you guys know the history of Trident Studios in London, you know how many great records from Zeppelin, Bowie, Queen, Elton John, so many greats have been made on Trident consoles. If you don't know anything about that and you're interested in gear, just Google Trident Studios, because there's so many records that we all listen to all the time made in that studio. Somebody's calling me. So anyway, we have the studio here is based around the Trident 88. I've got 24 channel, 8-bus console, all with really fantastic sounding EQs. And I would say most of the work we do ends up being on the console. It's really versatile. I've got the first 8 channels have input transformers, then I have 16 that don't. So I've got 2 entirely different sounds on the board itself. So it's a great sounding console. Some of the other pre's, I have a pair of overstayers. These are from a friend of mine who makes this stuff here in LA named Jeff Terzo. He makes fantastic gear. And this one's been out a little while. Some of his newer stuff, just check out Overstayer. It's really fantastic stuff. It's a great pre, really versatile, has a Pultec style EQ. It has some you can play with the second and third harmonics depending on how hard you drive the input. So it's one of those things that it can be very clean and open, or we can have a lot of fun creating sounds through it. Not only is it versatile, but there's just a lot of colors you can get out of it. And on the other end of my pre's, we'll walk over to this side, is a pair of the Tonelux MP5A, which are just wonderfully punchy. These things are nice and in your face. Kick and snares, they're insane on. Also, bass guitar through those things are great. But the rest of it ends up being through the console. So this rack, my special little rack here, I have another piece from Jeff Terzo, the Overstayer VCA compressor, which is one of my favorites. My Day King FET compressor, which I like. I have a pair of these ART Pro VLAs that sound wonderful. This one is actually stock, and this one has different tubes. We've recapped it. We've done a few things to it and opened it up. So we have 2 different tones. I have a couple DBX 160X, the 166, a couple old Aphex expressors that are nice. I have the Rupert Neve 5043 stereo compressor, which is really nice. Probably my favorite compressor of everything, though, is this Tonelux TX5C. These things are badass. Super badass, actually. I use them on 2-bus a lot, but I use them on drums. They're nice on vocals. They'll work on anything. Like most compressors, you can use them on anything depending on what you want. But the thing I like about these is I can put them on a 2-bus and I can hit the compression really hard and not lose any of my transient, or lose very little of it anyway. Whereas a lot of other compressors, they're shaving that off. This just happens to keep that, and it just does a wonderful thing for mixes. And I have a pair of Joe Meat compressors here I love on drums. Kick and snares especially, man. They're really, really nice. It's all based around, all this gear, goes into the patch bay over there, but it goes into the Mac. We have 40 channels of input through the Motus, 40 channels of ins and outs. The board itself is actually 72 inputs when I'm mixing. It's 24 pre's on it, but when I go to mix, and I do mix analog quite a bit, I have 72 inputs used, all with analog EQ, which is something that's nice, because let me move this sucker, even my subgroups and my effects returns all have EQ on them, which is wonderful. Even my monitor returns, they have what they call the tilt EQ that is similar to what's on the Tonelux. It's kind of like a tone knob. Guitar players are used to having a tone knob where they can, make it a little darker, a little brighter. That's kind of what the tilt EQ is. It can be very fast and very effective. The Motus, like I said, I have 40 ins and outs, so we have plenty of inputs and plenty of outputs when tracking or mixing, and we do a lot of live shows here where we're running. This board is not only are the pre's full, but we have our buses full. We're using auxes to send stuff around because we have a live show that we're filming, which is on a different rig over here, our broadcast rig, which is run off a Mac Mini actually. With we have a Blackmagic video interface going into the Mac Mini here, and we actually have the camera on in the live room. That's our broadcast feed. So when we're doing live broadcast of shows, or if you've seen any of the stuff we've done lately, we've been broadcasting a lot of guitar workshops and a lot of recording workshops. This is our separate rig that usually it's Tao who's over here. He's over on the couch taking a nap. Oscar, he's taking a nap. But How and Tao, hold on, we got to get these guys on. These guys rule. These guys have been my assistants now for a while, and not only are they badass musicians, drummer, guitar player here, but they're just wonderful in here. They know the room. Tao actually he's the one that figured out most of our video stuff to get it going. So those guys they're my right-hand guys, man. They're awesome. They help everything work here. So I've also been lucky throughout my career to work with some fantastic musicians when I was a player and here at the studio. And being a drummer by trade, I attract a lot of drummers, and I kind of have my drummer's head wall and some fantastic, Josh Freese, Mike Avename, Glenn Sobel, Ray Luzier, Chad Smith. Even though he's a Raiders fan, I still like him. Rich Redmond was here recently, which was awesome. Land Richards. There's just been, man, some just guys that I looked up to for years. I've been fortunate to record and work with them here, so it's been pretty cool. Drums, baby. Let's go. Let's take a look at the rest of the studio. All right, so the first thing we have here is we've got this kind of the airlock between the control room and the live room is also our ISO booth. You can see we have a couple guitar cabinets in here right now. We put guitar cabs in here quite a bit because we can track a lot of things live. So this gives us separation from a drummer playing in the live room, but also it's got a really tight sound in here. We do some vocals in here too because it's really focused. And a lot of the times if we want acoustic guitars or nylon strings, but we want them to be really just dry but really intimate, we do that stuff in here, man. And this space is so dry and focused that it just makes a vocal or a guitar to sit right in front of your face. So this is kind of what, we use it here. We do have glass so we can see into the control room, so we've got a line of sight. Then we move into the live room. This is where most of everything happens. This is about 600 square feet, so we've got plenty of room. We do, like I said in there, we do a lot of live concerts. So we have a lot of audiences in here. A lot of the times we'll have a band set up over here. We'll have some like our music chamber show we actually have, what's happening, Oscar? We actually have chairs set up out here. So we kind of give it more of a living room kind of vibe, and it's really cool. But we do a lot of the live broadcasting here too. And I do a lot of recording with bands live in the room. So we may have the kit here, we may have amps on both sides, or sometimes we'll stick the amp in the ISO booth so we have a little bit of separation. But we've got a lot of room to work with. For drums, it's awesome because we can move the kit around in different parts of the room. It usually works here and the corner work well, but it gives us a lot of different ways to capture room mics and stuff, so it's a lot of fun actually. The room itself, when I built the room, I couldn't decide exactly how I wanted everything to stay permanently. So instead of making things permanent, I knew that my work was going to be quite varied, and for everything from jazz, from live concerts, to just drums, to just vocals. Stylistically, I wanted to make sure I had options to move the room around. So what I did is all the panels, everything that's hanging up. So if we go over here, I've got a bunch of Skyline diffusers here that are also broadband bass traps. They're full in the back. Everything is on a rail system. So if you can see up at the top, everything can get moved. There's a rail around the entire room. So I can move everything to tune the room or change the room how I need it to be. We can take everything out of here, and it kind of sounds like an outdoor, like a piazza in Italy, like a lot of early reflections, and it's really cool. We can make an entire wall dead I have the black absorbers. I have enough of those. We can make a whole wall dead. We can put all the diffusion on a wall. We can make a corner dead. I have the two big, besides the Skylines, I have two big kind of semi-poly diffusers that also have about 1 inch of fiberglass on the back just to control some of the high-end bouncing back off the wall. And these are great because you can get right back on them and they don't change the sound. The Skyline diffusers you need to be a few feet away from because when you get close to them, they kind of start to get a little honky, but if you're a few feet away, they work great. So, and again, this is all on a rail. Everything can move. And we don't move it like for drums that often, but we do sometimes for like the shows depending on what we need. This back wall is also slanted about 11 degrees forward, so it's not parallel with the other side. We've got 24 inputs in this room. We can always use more. The ISO booth actually has 8 inputs. So if we need more, we use it there, but most of the time we're able to stay within our 24. Gear, this is one of the kits we have. This is a Gretsch Renown. So we actually have, on the Gretsch stuff, we actually have a full run of everything from 10 all the way down to 16. 2 different 22 by 18 kicks that are tuned completely different heads. I have a 24 by 16. We have a 22 by 13 and a half, one that just got cut down. So we have plenty of different kick drums to choose from. We can also set up an entire giant double bass kit if we wanted to. Also have a Pearl kit, bags full of Paiste cymbals, just tons of them. I've been a Paiste artist for a long time, love their cymbals, so I have lots of those. And all this stuff is available for use when we're tracking here. Sometimes drummers like to bring in their own stuff. I get that, and that's cool. And a lot of the times we end up mixing and matching, or sometimes I can just make your life easy. You can just use what I have here, and you bring a pedal, some sticks, and we're good to go. We have the part of our snare rack over here while we're on the topic of drums. There's a few more in the back, but there's a House Canopus snare. The thing maple snare sounds amazing. Got a Ludwig Black Magic that sounds great, a Pearl Sensitone, a Noble and Cooley. This is I want to say this is an aluminum snare. Got my Anton Fig Yamaha down there with the wood hoops. That's great. Another Gretsch maple snare that's fantastic. Then we have a couple other steel snares and stuff in the back. So drum-wise, we have pretty much everything you would need there. We have guitar amps, a few Marshalls. Got a JCM 2000 that's been modded that sounds great. Got Tao's JVM that sounds good. The EVH is actually one of my favorites, man. This little guy. Most of the time it stays, we have everything just at noon and it sounds fantastic. We have a Fender, we have a Bagheera which is clean. You already saw the Laney that's modded by a good friend of mine, Kurt Berger, and it sounds wonderful too. So we've got a bunch of amps. Over here on the other side, we've got a Mark bass. This is my buddy Kevin Chown, who's out with Tarja, plays with Chad Smith and the Meat Bats. Leaves me some of his gear to use, and this Mark bass sounds fantastic. Wonderful sounding amp. Some LP percussion. So the room itself, like I said, it's tunable. We've got everything on a rail. It sounds good in here. It's comfortable, even though we have a crowd. We did one release party with an artist named Max Pfisterer where we had a 6-camera HD shoot. He had a 7-piece band in here playing full blown, and we had 43 people in the room watching it. It was a wonderful night. It was electric in here. So we can do all sorts of different things besides recording, from release parties to video shoots to live broadcasting, whatever you need really. And the room itself is a great size for it. It's not huge, but it's not small either. It's just kind of a perfect size to do a lot of things and feel intimate and feel comfortable. So anyway, that's kind of the studio. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll see you next video.